Hi, this is Dr. Brackney, better known as Chief B. We are here with Black Armor the Law podcast. We are in Atlanta for the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives CEO Symposium, where there are more than 500 leaders from across the nation here. But we're also here with partners who make a difference. I am here with the president of the National NAACP, Derrick Johnson. Now, listen, I'm going to have to say, friends from the SIP. For those of y'all who know, he's from Mississippi. Tougaloo brother. Now, I'm not going to say which fraternity. I think my husband,
only one.
my husband would be fighting with you over the 06, which he's not, folks. So President Johnson, let me just talk to you about the NAACP's role and the national stance it's taking on police violence, police brutality, and why it's important for you to be here at a conference where we impact the lives of Black and brown communities, either positively or negatively, across the globe.
Well, first of all, the NAACP, we're the nation's largest civil rights organization. And as I see this gathering, many of the individuals here are only here because of lawsuits we filed against jurisdictions to ensure that Black folks could not only take the test, but pass the test and participate and protect and serve our communities. It is imperative that our communities are safe. And the only way for that to happen is individuals from our community serve in our community. And that's why this conference and NOBLE is so important to us.
But it's not just enough that we all look like the communities we serve. Like I keep telling people, I am not your DEI checklist. I have qualities and skill sets that I am uniquely gifted with to serve my communities, right? And without the help of somebody like the NAACP, President Johnson, what could that look like? How might we start sliding back in democracy in terms of representation? We know they've struck down affirmative action in the Supreme Courts. And people are really trying to find ways to erase our history and to make us irrelevant. What is the work that you're doing to make sure that does not occur?
Well, first of all of this is based on policy. Policy is determined by policymakers. Policymakers are elected. And so we can't dismiss the fact that the smallest common denominator to all of this is ensuring that we don't take elections for granted, that we elect people who could be accountable to our communities and understand the role and the work they need to do. We have to stop electing individuals who are not doing their homework, who don't understand policy and cannot read a budget. We also need to make sure law enforcement officers who come from our communities recognize the need to change and redefine how we see policing. Policing is not predatory on our community. It shouldn't be. It should be one in which people see a police officer and be proud of. I grew up in Detroit. Right across the bridge in Canada, police officers are looked at with a lot more dignity than they look at
That's
here.
right, you're right.
Right? And many of them, depending on where they're patrolling, they don't have to carry a gun.
That's right.
We're the only country that have created this stigma between community and police. A lot of that is born out of the historical reality that white supremacist activity had embedded themselves in law enforcement agencies for decades. So by the time we were able to get hired and begin to perform the jobs, we had to undo a lot of the cultural norms that's within there. So it's important for NOBLE and the executives in law enforcement to redefine policing to serve our communities and not just occupy a space and carry on a culture that prey on our communities.
So this ain't Sunday, but you up here preaching today. I'm telling you, when I was growing up and I first started my police career in 1984, I remember my grandmother would say when she was referring to me, that's my grandbaby over there, and she a police officer. And you know, they hit that PO real hard, right? They hit that PO real hard, which meant there was a sense of pride in our communities. You're right. Our institution has been born out of an institution of supremacy. The soil is bad that we grew out of. We grew out of slave codes, our slave patrols, black codes,
Right.
Then Jim Crow, Reconstruction, they just tried to dismantle. And there's been a lot of that resurgence now today. Beyond elections, because those often take place every 4 years or every 2 years, what would you say now to your constituents and to the police community about what we can do to help elevate the voices of those people who are most impacted, but also importantly, for change?
But one of the things that I've always said that the culture of policing in the community is too much burden placed on officers to be social workers, psychiatrists, counselors in marriage disputes. We need to diversify the resources police officers more, but make sure we have social workers in communities, make sure we have mental health professionals in communities, so we can redefine policing, create standards that's
Amen.
uniform,
Amen.
not agency to agency, and to make sure we have the right accountabilities in place so police officers can be safe and communities can be safe, and we can all have a more productive relationship.
So I'm going to say this one thing, and I'm going to let you go because you're a busy man. I know you're going to head back to, at some point, hopefully getting back into Mississippi, and we run across each other. You know, we had a lot of police chiefs and a lot of other police officers during the summer of 2020 when there were rallies, marches, and demonstrations about the public execution of George Floyd Jr. They were taking knees. There were all these symbolic things. But when it came to the passing of the George Floyd and Justice and Policing Act, you didn't hear a whole lot of police chiefs getting involved. So we have to move.
Noble did.
Noble did. I was right there on there. But we often find ourselves in policing trying to get the photo op moment. It has to go deeper. And that's the kind of work that the NAACP is doing. You're not just here for the pictures, although we look good doing it. But you are going deeper into the work and the impact, the collective impact the agency can have, and the type of partnerships that we have the right training, the right policies, and the right perspectives about our community. What's your final words before I let you go, President Johnson?
It is important for our community to be proud of those who are from our community, who serve our community. But when you serve our community, we need to create a new culture and not adopt a culture from the past. And that past culture was one that was predatory on many Black males, many Black women. And we can do this differently, and Noble needs to lead the way.
Leading the way, we say justice by action. We want to see some action. Thank you so much, President Johnson, for joining me, and please, safe travels.